Welcome back to our TAS Get to Know series. Today, we are honoured to have with us Professor Jeffrey Hou, Head of Department of Architecture at the National University of Singapore. Professor Hou is an internationally recognised scholar, educator and practitioner known for his work in bottom-up placemaking, community-driven design and public space activism. Through his research, teaching and practice, he has consistently explored how architecture can empower communities and create more inclusive, meaningful urban spaces. So first question, what first inspired your interest in bottom-up placemaking and community-driven design?
Well, we have to go all the way back. One of the things that I was really kind of had a big influence on me was obviously, like my education. So I went to college in New York City. What struck me most at the time was this sort of contrast between what we were learning at school. We do, things within the school. And then once you go outside of school, it's a different world. School is very close to Chinatown. So when we go to Chinatown, there are lots of street vendors, people doing business, transaction on the streets. And the contrast sort of keep coming back to me. I feel there's sort of a disconnect between what we do as architects and landscape architects and planner. Everything's sort of very organized and so forth, but it was kind of missing something that had to do with how people actually use the space. One thing led to another, so that's how I got interested in bottom-up urbanism.
So in your view, what does community truly mean in the context of architecture and design today?
Well, in some way, it's still the same as like 50, 100 years ago. Architecture are designed in service of people, right? So we're designing something for the people, right? And that people could be the community, could be other types of user, right? But in any case, the community is still a very important part of what we're working for. But at the same time, I think the notion of community have changed over time. So these days, the community are not just a fixed group of people, right? People could be connected online, people could be connected in so many other ways. It's a moment for us to kind of reflect on kind of what community means. And architecture, how we can approach architecture in a way it continues to be relevant to the community. So it becomes much more interactive, collective. How we can, as architects, we can also facilitate the process so that the community can really take ownership of the places that we design. Our relationship with the community, I think, will have to evolve as people have a greater ability to become part of the design process, right? Through AI, and we have the communities are much more educated. They have much greater access to a lot of different tools that did not exist before. So how can we leverage that so they can become part of the creative process?
So how do you think architecture students can balance design ambition with social responsibility too, especially in a rapid changing world?
There are multiple ways that I think not just students, anyone practicing architect as well. I think one thing is that if you work with people that will be the users or people that you're serving, you learn a different perspective, and I think is where the sense of social responsibility can begin to emerge. The more you know about the place, about the people, the sense of kind of responsibility become more real, right? Otherwise, it's just sort of an abstract. In our practice, I think we need to partner more with community organizations, with nonprofits, government agency as well. To understand what the real issues are, right? Oftentimes, like the brief that you're given may not necessarily reflect all the issues that may reside in a particular community or a context. A more critical understanding of social responsibility will come out of a better understanding of what the issues are, and rather than something that you feel that it's a box to check. If social responsibility is reduced to a box, it sort of defeats the purpose, right? So I think that will be my recommendation for the students, that to really kind of understand, an issue, the context, and really kind of think about what social responsibility means in a particular place and for a particular community.
What do you think is a good design for you? Is it a design that serves the community?
Well, I mean, trained as a designer, I think all of us are still attracted to something that is beautiful. The way we organize our room, we just don't just leave it to other people to decide, right? There's a certain aesthetic that we're going for. We also need to understand perspective of beauty and aesthetic from other people's point of view. Design is not just the formal aesthetic, but it has to serve a purpose. It has to respond to a particular issue. And so it's a combination of all those, and finding sort of a balance between different perspective in the community, different stakeholders, perspective of the architects and designers included, and so that it becomes sort of a collective sense of beauty, right? That we can learn from each other about what a good design is for them, and come to appreciate the sort of diverse way of understanding what a good design is. It's good to be more open-minded. Discover things that along the way, and maybe your sense of good design may shift. Your sense of good design can influence other people. That would be a good design for me, is that it has sort of evolved through this process.
Was there a moment in your own journey when you realized architecture was more than just designing buildings for you?
There's so many. Started from the very beginning, where I was still in school. The dormitory happened to be in the poor neighborhood, so a lot of us students are very concerned about the impact of the dormitory on the rest of the community. We already have seen many cases in which new development are gentrifying the communities, and people have been displaced and things like that. We also have to look at the impact of the project on the rest of the community. So that was probably my first experience in which I begin to see architecture has broader ramification beyond just its own footprint and form and so forth.
Many students actually struggle to kind of find their own design voice. So what advice would you give to them?
My advice is that you don't have to sort of be such a hurry, right? That if you don't find your voice, that you're in trouble. Like a lot of us, I think we found our voice much later in life. Have done so many things, and we realize that this is something that we're good at. Oftentimes, I think the voice has to come out of some sort of experience. You cannot just find a voice by reading a book or just working on one project alone. I will also say that each project is an opportunity to find your voice. So my advice would be just focus on what you're doing now. Over a period of time, after you have done enough work, you'll begin to find your voice.
Since arriving in Singapore, is there a place that has unexpectedly sparked your creativity?
Lately, I've been spending a lot of time on the West Coast, in the West Coast Park. The design itself is not particularly interesting, although there's really, some nice moments. But what has struck me is sort of how people utilize the park. Especially on weekend, there are so many tents, and the tent sort of create its own landscape. It's something that you don't often see in Singapore. I think maybe on the East Coast Park as well. You get a sense that people have the agency of creating their own space. And then there's also the pier area. The boats have a lot of character. Each of them is different. How they adapt the limited amount of space to perform the work that they need to do. And how they are parked together in the same space is very different from the other boats that are in the marina that are more organized. So you feel sort of a sense of something organic, something sort of spontaneous, and every time you go, there's something slightly different. Yeah, so for me, that was a kind of a unexpected discovery, and something I get to appreciate quite a bit.
So if architecture were a person, how would you describe its personality?
It'd be kind of schizophrenic. It'd be a person that has almost like splitting personalities. This person might look very sharp on the outside, but behind the scene, like they're always rushing to get things done. The appearance is one thing, but how things are put together, how things are built, takes a very different path. This is a person that sort of embodies that sort of duality. Yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer. I don't know if that was a good answer or not, but I think that was the first thing that came to mind. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's the diversity of architects and architecture students that we have different aspects of life, and sometimes it's also not just about work, and we also have like another life outside of architecture. Yeah. coffee or tea or something else entirely when you're like working or thinking about ideas? So which one do you like?
Definitely coffee. I'm a coffee person. Although I do, I tend to drink coffee during the day and tea at night. Somehow I need to balance between the two. I don't know, it just happened, yeah. Black coffee works for me. Sometimes I need something more substantial, milk and sugar and things like that. Depends on the mood of the day. So I live in Seattle for over 22 years, so especially winter time, like it's gray. So you need coffee to like feel that you're alive. It's a very important part of my life.
It is important that we start to kind of look around and really see the community and the people in order to kind of create a good design that kind of gives back to this society. So I think this is an inspiring sharing that you gave. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.